Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach channel. In this video, we're going to look at an updated BBL SuperCoach team. So, put out an initial video a week or two ago, I think it was a couple of weeks ago now. And basically, I hadn't really put a lot of or any thought into it. It was literally just reacting to the players' prices and just slapping the team together, talking about some basic concepts for those that are new to the game. Since then, we've obviously got a bit more information. The test team, or test squad, sorry, has been announced. So obviously that will impact some of our selections. And also just, looking at the draw and actually doing some analysis, quote unquote, for those that are long-term viewers of the channel, that term's used very loosely. But just, looking at the draw, the fixtures, and sort of, factoring that in. So if we have a look at the team as it currently stands, it'll take a while to load apparently. There we go. So I guess the first thing that we've factored in is in round one, you've got the two Melbourne teams, the Stars and the Renegades, both on the double. So it is a fairly Melbourne heavy squad at the moment. After that, you will notice as well there's a bit of blue and orange. That's because Perth Scorchers and Adelaide have the double in week 2. Adelaide also has another double in round 4 alongside the Renegades. And in round 3, you've got Melbourne Stars and the Sixers have a double, and Brisbane. But the Melbourne Renegades do blank. So that's just something to be mindful of. So essentially across the first 4 rounds, you've got Adelaide playing 6, Melbourne playing 6, Melbourne Renegades playing 5, and quite a few other teams playing 5. Perth, Brisbane. Who was that one? Sydney Sixers, sorry. I've got them there. So, probably, leaning away from Hobart, Sydney Thunder players just at the start. You'll see a couple in the squad. But, I guess you try to have a bit of balance. And you'll notice they're probably in there more for their prices than anything. So, starting at the top, wicket keepers, we've just gone with the 2 Melbourne options. So, Seifert, not quite sure how to pronounce that, the New Zealand keeper batsman. You'd imagine he'd bat fairly high up in the order. For the Renegades, they do have Fraser McGurk there, as well as there's someone else who's a higher order player. I thought I had Seifert sitting at 3, but somewhere in the top 3 is all good. And Sam Harper, a lot of people will say, well, Ben Duckett is the international player, but England actually has their final test match across this first round. This first round. So I think it finishes on the 18th. So I'd imagine Sam Harper will take the gloves for the first 2 games and probably just slot in at the top of the order. I guess the issue might be he won't make a lot of cash if he plays 2 games and then gets out of the team. But, we'll take the points or the potential for cash all going to plan. Also at his price, it's not the worst if he just sits on the bench. Then the batsman, I guess the big question a lot of people are posing, can you afford to play Short and Maxwell? It's sort of like, I guess, the classic Haaland and Mo Salah conversation at the start of the FPL season. For those that play that game, you know what I'm talking about. But, they're clearing away the 2 most expensive options. It's also because they're 2 clearing away best options. They both bat high in the order. Maxwell can float a bit, but generally, comes in nice and early for the Stars. They both bowl those off spinners, take wickets, both great fielders. So there's always points around them. And the argument is, I guess if, they fail with the bat, don't get a lot of overs with the ball, their price can dip. But they're also that price for a reason, is they've been consistent over a number of years. Maxwell sort of come back at a cheap price last year, and everyone snapped him up, and he did what he does. So at the moment, I've got both. There is a school of thought you can potentially chop and change. Given that it's Melbourne Stars, Adelaide, Melbourne Stars round three, Adelaide round four with the doubles. So obviously you just target which player you want to captain, which is obviously the guy on the double. Um, but I guess then as well you do have to factor in that's essentially three trades you've already booked. Um, I think you get enough trades. It's two or three each round. Um, I should have actually looked at that, but you only have two boosts as well. So if you want to use extra trades, you could potentially be boosting a couple of times early. I mean, there is only 8 rounds or 9 rounds, so it's not the end of the world in terms of using the boost early. But I guess you also do get that attrition through the season. All the outs and injuries and international players coming and going. So it is handy to have those in reserve. So I'm going to try and fit both in to start. Obviously, if it just becomes too hard, particularly, you can see my bench is pretty bare. Maybe it becomes one or the other. But after that, I've gone with Hardy. Um, Perth have that double in game week two, so it's sort of preparing for that. But again, very similar to these guys. Bats high in the order. Um, bowls, his allotment of overs generally. Um, Perth obviously have a lot of great bowling options, but he's an elite all rounder and one that happy to have in the team. Josh Inglis. So this is the interesting one as far as what I've selected so far. Given he is named in the Test squad, would suggest he's maybe one injury away from slotting in, and obviously then we'd have to find another batting option. But I'd also like the fact that he gives us a bit of flexibility with the wicket keeping spot as well. So um, obviously at his price, you wouldn't want to park him on the bench if you can avoid it. Um, but given that he might not be in the Test squad, it gives him every chance of being in the Scorchers outfit. Marcus Stoinis, so for his potential and his known ability, pretty good value. Um, Opened the bowling the other day in the one day, so it looks like he will bat and bowl. I guess the Stars do have a lot of those sort of all rounders like Maxwell, Bo Webster, even Hilton Cartwright can bowl a little bit. He's usually the last on the list, but there's generally not necessarily 4 overs for all of them. So how they mix and match that is something we do need to keep an eye on. On the bench, just going a couple of cheapies. Mackenzie Harvey could get a spot at the Renegades. More than likely would be in the middle order, but have seen he's done all right this season. I remember seeing him get a score, but I can't remember if it was a one day or a first class game. And Constas, was near sort of Test selection. So you'd imagine there'd be a bit of leaning on the Sydney Thunder to find a role for him. They do have a pretty stacked top order with the likes of Nick Maddinson, David Warner, obviously. They've got Sam Billings across this year from the Heat. Um, yeah, so there is a lot of batting there at the Thunder. But as I said, I think a kid of his potential, Cricket Australia in particular, will be trying to get him a bit of a run in the team at some point. Onto the bowlers. And so I've gone with Tom Curran as my VC for week one. Obviously, the double is very helpful. Um, bats a little bit lower than we'd like in terms of all rounders, but does have that ability to take wickets with the ball. And given the Stars' performance in recent seasons, could actually be useful with the bat, given that they seem to get to that middle order a bit earlier than other teams. Obviously, if we've got Stoinis and Maxwell, we don't hope that's the case this year. Then Harper for round one, at least. But could be on the cards. Jai Richardson, another one that, at his price point represents great value, has the double game week too. It's just going to come down to if he's fit. If not, we could probably sub in any of the other Perth Scorchers, Pacemen, and they'll do the business. The next two I've gone with Rogers and Couch, but essentially this is the quote unquote, third paceman at both of these franchises. This could end up being. I've forgotten the options now off the top of my head. Can probably have a quick look, I suppose. So just takes forever to load. Don't know why it's so far out from the season start. There shouldn't be that many people on here right now. If you are, you're all nuffs like me, and we absolutely love it. But if we have a look at the bowlers from the Renegades, I'll throw the stars up here too, just because it takes so long to do anything. So yeah, so if we have a look at the Renegades first, I'll sort of focus on. So Sutherland, if he's fit and able to bowl, he'll obviously be one. You imagine Kane Richardson and probably Gurinder Sandhu, you know, two pacemen there. Adam Zampa's a lock. Nathan Lyon will be playing tests, so not a instant consideration for the team. So basically, it comes down to Rogers or Fergus O'Neill. I would have as the fifth bowler there. Um, Bethel, I think, is a bit more of an all rounder type, so probably put him in the same vein as a Paul Walter. Could bowl four overs, might not, just depending on conditions. So I think there's one spot there for Rogers or O'Neill. So basically, whoever that is going in the team. And likewise for the stars, obviously you've got Maxwell, Webster, Stoinis. As I said, they generally, play them, but still have four bowlers around them. So I've got Scott Boland in for one of those. Mir, the leg spinner, I think he is from Pakistan. Everyone loves a foreign leg spinner in the BBL, so you imagine he'd be in. Um, and then after that, potentially two spots there. Steckity, Paris. So I've gone Couch as the most expensive option. Obviously, if it becomes a Steckity or a Paris, we just chop and change them around. Obviously, the issue is it could potentially be one for one game and one for the other game, depending on matchups. Particularly like a Joel Paris with a left arm bowler. Um, it might be better for one game, and then they bring in Steckity or Couch. But that's the thinking there. Is basically it's going to be one of those bowlers, um, and the price points sort of suit the current structure of the team. There is an argument maybe if like Sandhu's in for sure and Mir's in for sure, you lock those two in at the similar sort of cash amount. It's probably a bit too much actually for Mir because it's actually more to Sandhu. But yeah, it could be balanced by Paris could be the option there, so chop 10k off, but you could potentially go up to Mir. You don't want to overload on one team though, so sort of risking it there with I think I've got 5 stars players, something like that's very close to that borderline. But as we said, 6 matches in the first 4 is pretty nice. I've only got 4, so I'm not doing too bad. 3 from the Renegades, 4 from the Scorchers might be a little bit too much. But the fourth one you'll see there, Beardman, is that young guy got a call up to the one-day squad, I think it was in England. Didn't play, but again, could be another one they look for opportunities to get in. Obviously, per Scorcher's pace attack, it's pretty hard to get into. And Buckingham, there'll be some spots available at the Adelaide Strikers. Ideally, we'd love to get him in at his bottom dollar price, but might not quite work out for us. And then the flex. So I didn't really go into this in the previous video, but basically the flex should actually probably be called a free hit to use a BBL term, in the sense of, you have this 12th player, but essentially you only get best 11. So, if you have a batter like Inglis, for example, who gets a duck, obviously that's not good for your scoreline. Um, but you do have the flex player who will just sort of slot in his spot. So you still have your emergency. So I've had Harper as an emergency. Should quickly just whack these ones on too. So obviously, if a player doesn't play, you do get the emergency in. But out of the 12 scores that you get, so even if it's an emergency filling in, you only get the best 11 in your actual weekly score. And so for the flex, I've gone with the roughie, which is Hussein, the leg spinner from Bangladesh. I think it's probably a bit ambitious given him the batting and bowling designation. Given all the scorecards I saw, he was batting sort of number 8. But we'll absolutely take it if we need to sort of flip him into the batting roles for some reason. But I guess there's always that one sort of spinner that we haven't seen a lot of before that comes into the BBL, does the business. And this year, I'll just back him in. As I said, Hobart's not the strongest team to start with. No doubles until round, must be at least 6. No, keep going. That must be right at the end. So round 8, could be round 9 as well. No, just round 8. That doesn't sound right. I thought they played 10 games each. Oh yeah, they do. 9 rounds, 1 double. Thanks for coming. So the double not until round 8. But, I guess like we said, we don't want to sort of overload teams from certain clubs. So slot him in, can mix him up. Obviously, I haven't got anyone from the Thunder or the Sixers, but obviously the Sixers are good for, I think it's round 3 for the double, but we've got 2 weeks to trade some of them in. I do like Hayden Kerr as an option if he gets a run. I think Sean Abbott was a good price from the starting video from memory. So there is definitely options. As I said, it's probably just going to come down to the cheapies that we get early doors as to whether we can hold the 2 big guns. We might be, trading and rotating through those options. So that's the team and the thoughts, or some thought that's gone into it. In terms of the leagues, so we've already managed to fill up 2 leagues, which is amazing. Basically the first one filled up super quick. So a couple of people asked, "Oh, can we get another league?" I slipped them the code, but I also just slipped the code into the original video. And obviously people were watching that still, engaging with it, which is great to see. Joined in the league. We've now got ourselves 2 full leagues. So I have created a 3rd league. So I'll just flash the code up on screen. But as always, I will put the link in the description. So the league code 778892 to join in the 3rd league. And again, not that I think I'll be doing regular videos leading up to it. Maybe one towards the end of the month if I see something majorly different or see some, more information around international player availability, that sort of thing. I had to work out the Ben Duckett thing for myself, and that was, more than enough analysis for the time being. So we've still got 32 days. You might not be able to see that behind me big head on the video, but close enough to 5 weeks away. Probably the next one will be pushing towards the end of the month, just a couple of weeks out, sort of thing, and then obviously closer to the time, we'll have the round 1 preview in a bit more of its full entirety. But we'll wrap the video up there. I'll just go back to the team. That's always nicer to look at to finish. So that takes forever. By the time I wrap it up, there we go. We're getting there. But as always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video If you want to join in with the SuperCoach Nuffs leagues, third league link is in the description. Might be the fourth league by the time you watch this. Who knows? It's going gangbusters. But give us a like if you enjoy the BBL cricket content. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.